so far I don't think I'm worried so much about the fandoms and working or pleasing them. It's purely my fear or any sort of tension always comes from the story. The choice is I picked a certain story, and if I mess it up, it's just like, why did I even do it? Like, why did you have to touch a mytho sci-fi or a sci-fi and mess it up for so many people behind you? So that's always what will keep me up at night. I think Mr. Bachchan did it more or less on his own. I mean, we had it written and choreographed, but just the energy that he brings into the fight, just the physicality of that. I mean, he's the original action hero. He knows when to, move faster or thrust or like how to punch, or he knows those things. I can't teach him that, or I don't think any action director of this time has done the kind of stuff that he has. I think at the end of the day, the same people who have those criticisms still love the opening, they love Yaskin, they love the interval. So I'm like, this is like 5 to 10 minutes. I think we can live with it. Yeah, I mean, not even VFX wise, but just I think the visual of that scene, the visual of even, how Deepika holds herself and, that poise or whatever it is that she's holding at the end of it. I remember telling her that I think, if all goes well, I think this could be one of those, iconic movie posters that will live longer than you and me, probably.
Hello everybody, I'm Rudrani and welcome to Zoom Speak Easy. My guest today is super special and I'm so excited to be doing this because the film is a magnum opus, a dream, a kind of an impossible dream for a lot of filmmakers at a time because it requires a lot of vision, a lot of money, but he's made it happen. Of course, talking about Nag Ashwin and the wonderful Kalki. Hello, thank you for joining in.
Hi, thanks for having me.
But I did add that line about an impossible dream. For a lot, it is like that, and you've taken pretty much a lot of years. Post Mahanati, I think you started kind of thinking about this, and you chose to only do this. How has that journey been till now?
It's definitely something that if you actually get down and try to make a proper plan for it, it sounds impossible. So we didn't do that, and we just jumped headlong into it and decided to build it as we went along. After Mahanati, I think maybe 4 or 5 months in, we decided to make this project. I started writing it, started ideating, pitched it to my producers, then started pitching it to actors and getting my crew on board and building this world. So it was a long process. Like, I mean, I think it took as long to make the world ready to shoot as long as it took to shoot it, maybe even longer. So, yeah, so I think it was, came together.
It's probably the vision that you've been successfully executed, right, with the team that you put together. And I have to then talk about the VFX. In the past, we've had films that have had vision, but the VFX has been scrutinized, criticized because they said, it really took away from the experience of the whole film. And I feel Kalki actually has such stunning visuals, and what you've been able to create takes you back to the fact that this is the kind of level we hope we take Indian cinema globally, and that we should be kind of proud that we've achieved that. I want to talk about your VFX journey here, and did you, when you saw those kind of films and the visuals, and you saw that in Indian films I'm talking about, that it kind of becomes more mockery than the vision that you think it to be. Did that? I'm sure you've thought about this, right? Because you think like, okay, I can't go this way. I'll have to make sure that it looks a certain way.
I think also the technology is coming together a lot more now than it probably was 5 years ago, to be fair. Just in terms of how powerful computers are, just how intuitive softwares are. Like, I think we are at the right time to be able to pull something like this off so well. But having said that, it was super hard. Like, I think like we have over 3,000 shots in the film, and each of them are complex. Like, you have fire, you have creatures and environments and natural elements that are happening, and then Bachchan sir is 8 feet tall, and there's Prabhas has boosters and like a lot of chaos. Like It's like, you know, I think somewhere along the way in shoot, we were thinking like if we had to patch a small scene of, I don't know, for example, Prabhas walking down the street, like we just can't do that. It's like a regular movie because suddenly the street doesn't exist. Prabhas has to be brought in, the VFX has to be done. So there's nothing like a simple shot in this film. So that was what we were up against, but we figured it out.
You figured it out. Because you're talking about that and you mentioned a few of those, let's now go a little deep. You said fire and I thought of the scene.
Yeah. It's my favorite scene also.
It is?
Yeah.
Just heads up.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the film, this is
I'd watch it again for that scene, but yeah.
So what are you talking about? You're talking about a scene with Devika Padukone sort of is
In a
coming
tunnel.
out.
Yeah, walking down a tunnel. Yeah, it's I mean, not even VFX wise, but just I think the visual of that scene, the visual of even, you know, how Deepika holds herself and, you know, that poise or whatever it is that she's holding at the end of it. I remember telling her that I think, you know, if all goes well, I think this could be one of those, you know, iconic movie posters that will live longer than you and me probably.
in a very nice way, it looks inspired from the Khaleesi scene of Game of Thrones. Is
Right.
is that a focal point of inference?
I was giving not so much. I think I mean not too much of a spoiler alert again, but
Yeah.
it's fully inspired by the Krishna scene, like how he's taken across the river.
Sure.
So it was just switching an element. So it was that was the core idea or inspiration for it. I think I was sort of giving her comparison, saying like how, you know, that Mother India poster still exists.
But very, very well done, I must say. And because we're talking about that, I will tell a few few points that I thought could have been your inspirations, and please
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, I of course thought like, you know, the Iron Man and the Tony Stark reference, a little bit in the suit that comes when we talk about Bougie and Prabhas.
Definitely. I mean, maybe for sure, subconsciously we grew up watching so much Marvel films. I would say that Guardians was probably a little more of an influence than Iron Man, maybe. Definitely Star Wars is a huge influence. I love Star Wars.
A little bit of the way
I
they're
just
walking
love
is obviously
just
that.
love Star Wars anyway, so that subconsciously is part of my aesthetic, I guess. So that would be an inspiration.
I'm a huge Harry Potter fan since I was very young.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that there is that Voldemort kind of a feeling to Mr. Kamal Hassan's character. Also because the concept that when Voldemort is defeated and he is reduced to nothing and almost not even a human form, and they're surviving and then feeding on the unicorn blood and then
Yeah.
surviving to becoming more powerful ultimately.
All flashbacks of Harry Potter, unicorn blood, and all just came.
Oh, but I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm saying it right there.
No, I
I'm
love
saying
it. I'm a fan too, but yeah.
Yeah, and I thought
Yeah.
like it was very well inspired from, because I see it and I didn't see it's exactly that. So that's where
Yeah.
inspiration.
Yeah.
You know, but I want to know, were there more inspirations for the way you
Kamal, sir?
showed Mr. Kamal Hassan's character? You know, the physicality of what was very Voldemortish in that nature for me. But you tell me if it was
Not so much, I think. I think it was more of this. I always thought he was like the oldest guy on earth other than Ashwadama. So that was the idea.
correct.
Just to find, and our references were these old Tibetan monks who were supposed to be 120 years old, 130 years old, and we were trying to get our prosthetic guys to match their wrinkles and things like that.
The emaciated look comes from
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it came from that more. I don't know if there. I think Sir was always mentioning the portrait of Dorian Gray. Like whenever we used to have a discussion, so it was like how this guy is always young, except when he looks into a mirror or something, and that's when you see his true age. So that was Sir's inspiration or point of reference. I don't think we had many movie references per se for that ancient look that I can recall right now.
So that's more realistic from the texts and from the references of
From
Tibetan
real
monks.
people, we were all looking at ancient people, and like I think my ADs have the most fun collection of pictures
So that-
of references.
Are you planning to release it someday? That'll be fun.
References, yeah. I mean, like, yeah, we can. I mean,
Why not?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So while we're at it, and we'll move on to something else also. Then
But
I
a
was-
Harry Potter reference for fun, just for trivia, is like There's a character in the movie named Sirius.
Correct.
That's,
Yes.
that's a
I
Harry
was-
Potter reference.
Okay, I was going to that as well. The
But
other one
that's
I
about
also
it.
thought was when there is a war happening between,
Yeah.
then and the electromagnetic field is diffused. It reminds me of when the Dark Wizards come and they take off the shield around the Hogwarts and stuff. So
Right. But that's, I guess, a
It's similar.
common trope,
It's a
like
common
in a
trope.
lot of movies also. Like,
Correct. So that also gave me a reminiscent.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, but that was also like the fight of the dark versus the light.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
similar thing of it. But are there particular like you mentioned a few? Are there some more inferences or interesting inspirations that you remember now when we talk about it? Specifically, because it'd be fun for us.
I mean, Luke is named after Luke Skywalker for
Of course.
sure, because it's a call, but that's about it. I think nothing much beyond that.
It is interesting that, I feel like post Adipurush, people feel like it's almost scary to attempt something like get with our mythology and mix it with it and do like a thing. But I feel like you're getting also a lot of love to get things right here, right?
Yeah.
Like to get the.
I think
to
people
get
love it.
text
People
of
love.
Mahabharata.
Yeah. I think people, even kids who don't know the Mahabharata, I think we are just born into a certain space and mind space that we will love it if it's done right. Like,
Correct.
we just have one soft corner for our mythology and where we come from. It's our story. So I always felt like if you tell it right and you tell it in a relevant way for 2024, I would love it. I mean, for me, it's always me, right? Like, I would want to watch this.
And because I said that, I also feel for Prabhas post Adipurush because it did not get the kind of thing, and he's extremely self-aware as a person, and his fans went out and spoke about it. Did you feel that kind of pressure? I mean, I know you're a chill person, but I still wanted to ask it that because there is also you're building your own world, but you take on this larger than life people also in themselves. And that there is that fandom that hopes that you do justice to what their persona adds to the film. I don't know. I thought I'll just pick your brain on this.
I mean, so far it's not happened. I don't know what will happen later, but so far I don't think I'm worried so much about the fandoms and working or pleasing them. It's purely my fear or any sort of tension always comes from the story. The choice is I picked a certain story, and if I mess it up, it's just like, why did I even do it? Like, why did you have to touch a mytho sci-fi or a sci-fi and mess it up for so many people behind you? So that's always what will keep me up at night, not so much the actors.
But it is massive for Prabhas, because they kept saying, let's wait for Kalki, and
Right.
one thing doesn't do well, and then people really tried to, say this is it. But I think you must have had the discussions about post the love that you're getting, right?
Right.
How does he feel? How do you feel out together? Is there a sense of relief?
It is. I think he saw the film just a day before the release and he was ecstatic. He was so happy. And I think he's such a humble person. So he's like, I don't know what I did to deserve like such massive movies. Like, he feels this is really great. The movie didn't release yet. So I was like, just hold on. We don't know what people are going to say yet.
Coming back to Ashwathama
Yeah.
and of course, Deepika's characters, both Mr. Bachchan, I think he was fantastic. The fact that you've been able to hold on and recognize his physicality and use it in that way, even though you had the count of the boundary of age, you still used whatever you could to make him look so powerful. I think it's fascinating for me. Tell me how you worked on that with Mr. Bachchan. And I will then ask about.
I think Mr. Bachchan did it more or less on his own. I mean, we had it written and choreographed, but just the energy that he brings into the fight, just the physicality of that. I mean, he's the original action hero. He knows when to, move faster or thrust or like how to punch, or he knows those things. I can't teach him that, or I don't think any action director of this time has done the kind of stuff that he has. So just merging whatever tech and VFX support that we could give him with who he was, and I mean, Ashwa was meant to be a character that has that depth and melancholy and all of that, and also like the most powerful warrior because he's the son of Dronacharya, who's unvanquishable. So that came together with Mr. Bachchan so beautifully. Yeah.
There is one thing that I have assumed, please tell me if my assumption is right. When I was watching him have a fight with Prabhas, and you must tell me how that must have been to shoot. There is a scene where he puts up all the people together, and,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
obviously it is obviously it talks about Ravana and his tenets, right? I assume that they always say that when you are fighting with someone who is monstrous, you will have to do the avatar of a monster to defeat it. Is that what you were trying to depict? Have I got it right, or is there more that you wanted to kind of put it there for the audience?
I mean, it was sort of, but also, I think at that point it was, I mean, very, very plainly just to show like how effortlessly he was finishing these people. It was almost on that level, but I'm
Like
glad.
show the strength of Ravan also, like a
It
comparison
was,
like
it
that.
was. It was an inevitable comparison. We couldn't shy away from that. And Ashwa has that sort of a grey area, so it made sense. Yeah.
Deepika's character, such less dialogues, there's so much grace, and she's doing everything through the eyes, and I think that was the point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Was this the setting of her character? Because she's also trying to understand what is happening to her. And I think it's going to come out in the next chapter of Kalki, and she's going to take over. Is my assumption correct? What are your thoughts on my analysis?
It's correct. Yeah, no, it's true because, I mean, she is the most integral part of the story. So whenever somebody asks me, you have these 4 super important characters, and who do you think, whose story is it, or whatever it is, and all of that. I mean, we had a lot of discussions on this when we were writing as well. I think the simplest answer we arrived on was, if whose character do you remove and the story doesn't exist? And that became Deepika's character, because if you remove her character, there is no story, there is no Kalki. So she had to bear that weight, but she also couldn't be a very proactive part of the story because so much is happening around her, and she comes from a certain place in the labs. She can't be like Kyra, for example. She can't be like Mariam, for example. She is in a space, she's caught in the headlights, so to speak. So inadvertently, she did become a little bit of a damsel in distress sort of thing, but that's the world she was in.
Like you did setting for this, was it purposeful to make his character look a little confused, funny, goofy?
Who?
Prabhas's character.
Yeah.
Because you wanted it to kind of be a reveal towards the end as to what he actually holds within him.
For sure, yeah.
Right?
It is that also, yeah. It is that also, and it is also just the fact that I enjoy Prabhas being like that.
Yeah, people have missed it.
Yeah,
It's been a while that
it's too much of the macho man hitting people, flying, all of that. So I thought, I mean, he does that so well. I also think he does this so well. So I thought, let's use this chance. Yeah.
Cameos.
Yeah.
You have a connection with Mr. Vijay Deverakonda since your first film.
Yeah, for
right?
sure. Yeah.
I mean, even through then, and I think a lot of goodwill has come through over the years, and you pretty much have in this as well. So let's talk about the friendships that you share and the cameos that you put in, because I think they're all interesting, including Mr. Rajamouli's.
Yeah. I mean, I think the cameos were a little bit of, like, for example, Rajamouli sir and RGV were purely tributes to the greats that they are. Like it's like before and after for them, like after they've entered the industry. So I just thought it's great to have them in this world, and I thought it was, I mean, they were doing their job. Of course, you come out of it a bit because they're such big characters, large outside in real life, but and who else? Dulquer and Vijay are both great actors, and it's always great to have them in the film. They're so easy in getting into whatever role they get, that's offered to them. Like even Vijay doing this, or even Dulquer just playing that role in that montage, like it's actually, I mean, for a lot of us, it's like one of the most emotional parts of that first half. Yeah.
I feel like There has been a graph in through Mahanati also for Dulkarnem today. And
Yeah.
I remember he telling me that, I went to the set of Adramadas project, yeah. I went to the set and I want to ever be a part of it like that. He's like, I can't believe it. That was the kind of
Yeah,
shock
yeah.
he was in when I spoke to him at the time you all were shooting and stuff, and he was saying, I can't believe what he's creating. How do you look at this kind of professional and personal friendship that you were able to relate and become such fantastic collaborators?
I think it's for me, for Dulquer, it's always been his love for movies, for cinema as a larger thing than an actor or because like even for Mahanati, like he was at his peak. He's still at his peak, but in Mahanati, for him to agree to do Gemini Ganeshan sir's role in a titular film with another actress was a very big thing. He just loved that story. He just loved what we were trying to do, and he came on board. And I think I don't know many people who would have done that. I mean, we did ask a lot of people, so I know a lot of people who wouldn't have done that. And he did it, and even now it's the same thing. He just his love for cinema and what it can become if this project is successful is what he was so excited about.
For a wrap in the next 5 minutes, I have to bring up Kalki, the next chapter that you're planning, and you left that cliffhanger moment out there, right?
Yeah.
What can the fans look forward to? I know I cannot ask you anything. Theories that have been floating are there, but what can you tell us a little on what the world
It's
will
a
be
continuation of the same story. So we just have to finish the story, and now all our characters are set up. Our world is set up. They're all at their their optimal self, and now it's just going to be. It feels like now the story's starting.
And particularly, I think for Deepika and Mr. Kamal Hassan's characters.
Yeah, fully.
Correct.
Yeah. It's more of them for sure, as compared to the first part.
You mostly received a lot of love, but little bit of critical comments if you said, and or anything that you thought you want to work on, what would that be?
I mean, almost unanimously, the criticism has been about the pace of the first half, or a little bit of time that could have been chopped off in edit, which is fair enough. I think it was just like this new world that we were trying to do, and we were just being a bit cautious in letting people sink into this world and really experience it rather than move faster and take that chance of them not understanding it. So we did that, but I think at the end of the day, the same people who have those criticisms still love the opening, they love Yaskin, they love the interval. So I'm like, this is like 5 to 10 minutes. I think we can live with it, and it's fine.
No, it's okay. Including and the de-aging must have been also been tricky, right? To show Mr. Bachchan's character.
It is. Yeah.
Did you all have a lot of multiple discussions into how to get it right?
Yeah, we did a lot of work. I think if you leave me at it, I'll still do it. I'll still keep
Still now?
I'll still keep doing it. I think it's really hard. I mean, also the kind of studios or the budgets that we operate at are comparatively low, but I think we did a job equivalent to like some of the big guys also.
Of course. Mr. Ashwin, I have to end it with this question saying, during Mahanati, when you did, there were not too many people believing in the project or even trying to come aboard and kind of give into your vision because you were doing it. The film was about a female actor.
Correct.
Right? It still does not get, and you categorically said in the beginning also, you wanted to do something different from what the mainstream Telugu cinema was anyways doing. And figure out your way and believe in. Today again, you've tried to do something that we've never seen happen in Telugu cinema globally. But again, you said the core point is Deepika's character.
It is, yeah.
I think you gravitate towards stories where you kind of want to give more agency to female characters, right? Tell me how you look at that, this conversation, and in future as well, are you working on some things besides Kalki that you could tell us about?
First part of the question, I don't know if it's very conscious, but I feel definitely some of the most powerful ideas or the most powerful anchors of stories probably are women, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it comes organically. I don't do that consciously. But and the story is all about that. So Yeah, and I have a couple of things that I have to finish also along with part 2. Like there's one series that's in the pipeline that I've been pushing for a couple of years. I might have to do now. But yeah, that's about it.
That's about it. We can't talk
Yeah.
much because, of
Yeah.
course, there must be contracts in place.
Yeah.
But thank you for really kind of doing analysis with me.
Thanks.
I hope you understood that I've really watched your film.
I know. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to talk to you.
It is. It's been a pleasure, and probably when you have more time, we'll do a part 2 of a conversation. I'd like to pick your brain a little more.
Yeah.
But thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
We hope that this takes us and breaks barriers for us globally as well.
Yeah, and a lot of younger filmmakers, I hope. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you once
Yeah.
again.
Thanks.